Hex. I thought Hex and eHex would have more of this, but I guess PulseX and Ink took a lot of it. Some people believe in Pulse and eHex though too. What do you guys think? What are your favorite pair? If you had to pair two, you can only buy 2 coins. You got to. I guess the more interesting question is like, if you're going to go hard into 2 coins on PulseChain and eHex, in the variety of coins, which 2 you're like, all right, I'm going to do 80-90% of my bag in these 2 because I think they're going to moon the hardest.
If you are asking the technical answer to this question, which, by the way, nothing is financial advice here, and this would be a very, very aggressive strategy, I think the correct answer is PulseX and incentive token. The reason being is that they are the lower market cap. PulseX has the buy and burn function. Incentive token, the emission rate has greatly been cut off by like what is it, 97% or something. So if you want to go for pure X's, those are the 2 that have the potential to just moon the hardest. Most X's, most aggressively, most quickly. Granted, keep in mind when I'm saying this, I'm saying that the peak is going to be the highest if you measure from the bottom. They both had pretty aggressive lows. Incentive token for sure. Back when it got down to like 30 cents or something, that was a screaming buy at the time. So based on that, if you're going for pure X's, those are going to be the ones that go the highest. Hex and PulseX, I think, is also a very good pair there because Hex, it's the OG, it's the original, it's what everything was built around to make it better. PulseX is the swap for the ecosystem. PulseChain itself is a very important token because it's the gas for everything. But again, at the same time, it's not going to one that gives you the most X's. So Hex, because it has the best marketing, most interest, I would say, that one goes pretty hard, I would imagine. PulseX, again, goes pretty hard. The buy and burn function is nothing to sleep on.
Just playing devil's advocate here. There's never been a token that has outpaced the coin of the realm. And I posted that the other day. I think Pulse is kind of a sleeping giant.
Yeah, I think the ratios to Pulse at the moment are juicy. If I had to pick, I would probably actually pick, option not on the table, which would be like Pulse and Ink. Because Pulse is like, to me, is like the safest one, right? Like it's the gas token. It's effectively non-inflationary or even sometimes deflationary right now, if you look at the numbers. And it's the one that will hold the highest amount of liquidity. So if you're planning on exiting, selling Pulse will probably be easier to sell. And then Ink is a wild card, right? Like that, I think could do the most number of X's. So I think that's would be an interesting mix.
And I know we all think market cap is kind of a made up number, right? You could do all kinds of things with market cap with supply, right? But eHex is the only token that ever got close to market capping Ethereum. Truthfully.
So can I choose all the above? Is that a choice?
The option I would pick on there that's not on there is PulseX. That's what I'm rolling.
Yeah.
Crispy, you can choose all of them if you explain it to us.
Hey, no kidding, right? Hey, listen, I think for me though, I would answer. I don't think I answered this poll, but if I was to answer it, I probably would have done Hex and PulseX, right? And the reason for that is I think it's the most conservative risk of what will probably happen, right? It doesn't mean that I don't believe any of the other pairs couldn't do it. In fact, the one that I think probably has the most potential is Hex and eHex. That's my view, right? But that's based on the fact that I think Hex is going to go way up, and I think the eHex is tied pretty tightly. I know that the supply is low, and if the users decide to go into Hex, that'll happen. But yeah, I could support any of these, particularly like the PulseX Ink scenario as well. Right? So.
Yeah, I go back to my analogy before sacrificed, which one's better, Pulse or PulseX? Do you like 2 scoops of ice cream or 3 scoops of ice cream? Or you just like ice cream? I like ice cream. It doesn't matter. They're all good. I like them.
That's right.
Hex is pretty good though. I like the Hex.
I just want to tell you that Briz is right, and I am expecting $10,000 Ink. So,
the Briz is he being bullish on Ink again? Where's he at?
He's out there. I don't know.
Oh! I thought you said it. He said it in the chat. I was going to pull.
Oh no, he's in the chat. I just picked that up. That was one of the previous streams, right? He was like talking about 10K. That's reasonable. Someday.
Yeah, $10,000 ink. I mean, literally, like, why, several $100 ink. I would not be shocked. Like, that just sounds like, if I saw, on PulseChain.com, PLS charts or whatever, I see like, oh, $950 ink. Oh, it's down 2% today. I'd be like,
Yeah,
that sounds about. Yeah.
no, we gotta go back.
Go ahead, Chris.
I was just gonna say, go back to what you wrote up there. You said, let's say you can only hold 2 tokens. Which ones are you gonna hold?
If you're going to go for the only ones you can hold, I think you made a really good argument there for the Hex and PulseX, which is that it's going to give you good exposure to everything, and then it also does still have the ability to pump very hard through the PulseX exposure. That would make sense.
Yeah, we've seen PulseX almost hit parity with Pulse a couple times. Yeah.
Yep.
But from that experience and based on where we are today, if the market kept doing what it was doing, PulseX is not going to be the winner because the trade's there to go from PulseX back into Pulse, right? And then just keep flipping it back and forth. So that may be a deterrent,
I think it's going to come down to something we don't know yet, right? Like with a token like Ink, for example, it could be like a new function, a single-sided staking option, a DAO option, something that's not in place yet, right? That could change the math. Because we have, we know what we know, but we don't know what we don't know. And I think that's what's going to be what moons one of these coins over the others. I think they'll all moon. Not financial advice, just my opinion.
So case in point, right? I mean, I know you guys look at charts and stuff, but Ink chart is a different chart than the others. And the others are the same chart, almost, within reason.
Yep.
But Ink is different, right? So people are acting different with it. And so what does that mean? I don't know what that means. Maybe Bruce was right. And when I say it's acting different, if you go look at it, if you were to measure it, it's going sideways in a range rather than going way down, way up, and all this. It kind of infers that people are unwilling to get rid of their ink and even risk swapping out of it. This is how I took it.
Let's say we had a benevolent whale. This is maybe a good poll idea, right? That had a lot of ETH sitting in his back pocket. Which token do you think he would spend that money on?
EHEX.
Pulse, PulseX, ETH, or Ink? I mean, Hex or Ink?
You tell me why you think that, because I have an answer for you too.
In the past, we've seen buys of Hex, PulseX, and Pulse from that particular wallet. Yeah, I don't think we've ever seen buys of Hex. I think it got drug up with it. When people saw action on those three, retail bought Hex because they knew stuff was happening, which is kind of cool.
So when you talk about that and about what could happen, what they might buy, I think there is probably less downward pressure for a big whale to come in and buy Ink. It's not that it isn't there. I mean, people have Ink and they could dump it, but I just think there's the possibility of less downward pressure, which would mean it would be stickier. It might stay higher and it's going to dry up the rest,
The people who have it, a lot of them got it free and have chosen not to sell it. So I think that the diamond hand profile of those people who have something that right now cannot be staked, that does not have any DAO function, does not have any utility, they've chosen to hold it despite knowing all of that and likely getting it for free. So I think that's why we see a different chart there.
Which is a completely counterintuitive for a reward token, truthfully. Most reward tokens see downward pressure. You did see Pancake Swap, Cake kind of outpaced BNB for a while, right? But usually those reward tokens are very similar to what RH was trying to thwart, right? People were living off the interest of their hex on 30 and 45-day stakes, or their big positions on V1. But aside from that, usually downward sell pressure is what you see from farming situations. I think you guys are right. There is an unusual. There is something different about ink. People are holding on to it, which I think is really different for a reward token.
Yeah, I think we saw exactly what you described during the first 2 years, but now I think we're in a different situation, you know.
Yeah,
particularly with that change of the emissions, right? So yeah.
I think it's got to be worth something. I said before, people are not going to farm it if it's not worth dollar value of some sort. It's got to be valuable in some way. So I think that's a pretty interesting incentive for the liquidity ecosystem too.
Yeah, and we have these conversations. It always brings me right back to I just have exposure to all of them, and then I don't have to worry about it because I'm also I didn't pick ink as my number one choice of something that's going to go up because there's just too many unknowns, right? So I want to have exposure to it, but I would never tell anybody go all in ink. Sorry, Bruce, but I wouldn't because I don't know what's going to happen with that, you know. And it's at least conservatively, it's a much safer bet to bet on the RH ecosystem as a whole by having exposure to all of them.
You guys might know the answer to this because I've never delved into it. Does RH have a big bag of ink?
Some say yes and some say no.
There's no pre-mint.
We all know
he couldn't have pre-minted himself any. He would have had to have farmed it, right? Like it's the only way to get it. It started at 0. Like the launch day, there was 0 ink. So yeah, and there was no pre-farming. Like, so yeah, he would have had to be in there or buy it off the market.
That's interesting.
I think the answer is probably no. I don't have hard data on this one, but Fast Abdul is entirely correct when he talks about how the supply started at 0, meaning the only way to get ink was either buy it off the market or to farm it. I don't think that there's a whole lot of data pointing towards RH wallets doing either of those activities, so I'm leaning towards no. I think that it's much easier to point to stuff like the OA or the SAC wallets as the activity going on with some of the other stuff, like buying up Ethereum, or whether it's just using the OA to mint hex effectively. Like that kind of activity seems much more likely. At the same time, though, would not be surprised though if there are some shadow wallets that are doing either of those activities. I don't think it's going to be nearly to the same degree as the other ones, but it's possible.
Yeah, we don't have a 95% ratio with like we do with hex or something like that, right? We have that's kind of a level playing field ink, which is interesting, right? Briss says he thinks that RH farmed ink with Pepe in the Bitcoin farms before they got shut down. I find that interesting. He was big pro copy, right? That's kind of cool. But I do think it's interesting. I think there are some people out there that have big bags of ink, and we're not sure who they are. We know who some are, right? We know Fire Whale's got big bags of ink. We know quite a few other people out there with big bags of ink, but I like ink. I don't know if RH will come in and buy ink.
I believe he probably has before. We've seen some action on ink. And what if there was suddenly a reason like ink became a DAO token? I wouldn't be surprised to see the OA account make a buy on ink the same day that was announced. You know, there could be a reason that doesn't exist yet.
Agreed. I agree with that big time.
We'll see if we get any data on this. Do we have any data on OA farming on PulseX and owning any ink? See if we get any replies to that in a little bit as well. I'm curious. I don't know. I suspect OA has been farming and does own some ink and is probably an ink well of some sort, not just buying it like we've seen happen last year during the buys of distributed across PulseX and Pulse and Hex and stuff too. I suspect so, but I don't know. We'll see if anyone replies to this.